What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am back with another video, where this time we're going to look at the best finals matchups we never got to see in recent NBA history. And for these matchups, I'm going to give you guys my pick of who I think would have won these hypothetical series. Now before we get into this video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you do so, and if you could like this video, I greatly appreciate it. Also, I want to say for this video, there's really no order, it's just 5 of the greatest finals matchups we never got to see. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So first up, we have Kobe Bryant versus LeBron James, the Lakers versus the Cavs, and the Lakers versus the Heat. And as you guys know, Kobe and LeBron, they roughly played in the same era, that being the late 2000s as well as the early 2010s. And during this time, they were probably the biggest rivalry in the NBA, but unfortunately, we never got to see them face off in the NBA Finals. Which is pretty surprising given that Kobe and LeBron from 2007 to 2013, one of those players made the finals every single year. And the first year I would look to where we missed out on this matchup was 2009. As this year Cleveland had the best record in the NBA, winning 66 games, and Lakers had the second best record, winning 65. And around this time, the marketing for this season was solely focused on Kobe versus LeBron James and how they were destined to meet in the NBA Finals. Now unfortunately, Hugh Turkoglu and Dwight Howard had other plans, and the Magic would be the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now looking at the next year in 2010, Cleveland as well as LA once again had very good rosters, the Cavs winning 61 games and LA winning 57. And coming into the year, Cleveland was the favorite to win the East and LA was the favorite to win the West. But unfortunately, once again, LeBron's Cavs would not make the NBA Finals, as this time they lost in the second round to the Boston Celtics. Now fast forward to 2013, LeBron, he joined the Heat, and Kobe is still with the Lakers, who have added Dwight Howard, as well as Steve Nash. And once again coming into this year, both these guys' teams were the favorite to win their conference. And it was once again hyped up as the Kobe vs. LeBron Finals that everyone wanted to see. And looking at the talent on the Lakers roster, they had Dwight Howard, of course Kobe, Pau Gasol, Steve Nash, Ron Artest, and Antoine Jamison. A pretty stacked lineup on paper. But unfortunately in real life, that Lakers team had a lot of injuries and they never really came together. And this time Kobe's team would miss the finals and LeBron's team would make it. So in a 5-year period, 3 different times we could have had a Kobe vs. LeBron finals, we missed out on it every single time. And hypothetically speaking, let's say Kobe and LeBron meet those 3 times. In 2009, if they met the Cavs vs. Lakers, I would have taken the Lakers over the Cavs in 6 games. Kobe at this point, in my opinion, was the better player. He had the better team, the better supporting cast. He had Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, as well as some good shooters. LeBron had a pretty good team, they were built around him, but still they didn't have the firepower of Kobe Bryant's Lakers. Now the same thing can be said in 2010 as LeBron added some other pieces, but still his Cavs team was inferior to Kobe's Lakers team. And one interesting fact about this series, Shaq at this time was actually on the Cavaliers, so in this specific series, we actually missed out on a Kobe vs. Shaq finals where Kobe could have gotten his revenge on his former teammate Shaquille O'Neal. Now looking at 2013, the Heat vs. the Lakers, in this series I would take the Heat, as top to bottom they had the better team, and they had the better big 3 with D-Wade and Chris Bosh, both being in their primes. Now to be fair to Kobe, I think he would go off in this series, put up some big time stats, but I think the Heat would still win in 6 games. So all in all, the Kobe vs. LeBron matchup, it was high anticipated, there was a lot of build up, there were commercials, everyone was hyped to see those 2 in the finals, but unfortunately it never happened, and it's one of the biggest mistakes in NBA history. Now next up on our list we have Kobe Bryant once again versus Michael Jordan in the 1998 NBA Finals. And many people forget, we were actually very close to seeing this finals matchup as the Lakers went to the Western Conference Finals versus Utah Jazz, and unfortunately they were swept, but still they came very close to playing that Bulls team. And if you look at both these teams, the Bulls and Lakers, Chicago was the favorites coming into the year, and LA had the 3rd highest odds to win the championship. And both these teams during the year played great, both winning over 60 games. So going into the playoffs, it was definitely a real possibility that Kobe and Jordan could actually meet in the NBA Finals. And during the season, these 2 players actually met twice, the Bulls winning 1 game and the Lakers winning 1 game. And in those games, Jordan averaged 33.5 points per game, 5.0 boards, 3.0 assists, on 47, 33, and 83 splits, and Kobe also played very well, averaging 26.5 points per game, 3.5 boards, 1.5 assists, on very impressive 52, 45, and 62 splits. Now unfortunately the Lakers team, they would not make the finals and the Bulls would, and we missed out on a great series for two of the best players of all time. Now, once again, hypothetically speaking, in this series, who do I think would have won, the Lakers or Bulls? I would have thought the Bulls had more experience, they're a more veteran team, and they also had the best player in the league being Jordan, and that's why I would have took Chicago in 6 games over that Lakers team. Now, next up on our list, once again, we have Michael Jordan, this time versus Hakeem Olajuwon. And these two players right here are two of the most skilled players of all time. They're both in my top 10s, and they're both in the '84 draft class, one of the most stacked draft classes in NBA history. But unfortunately, these two superstars never met once in the NBA Finals, which once again is very unfortunate considering Jordan and Hakeem, for 8 straight years, one of those players was playing on the biggest stage. Now, for this specific matchup, there's a lot of hypotheticals involved and a lot of what-ifs. Looking at the '94 season, Jordan, originally he was retired, but for sake of argument, let's say Jordan was not retired and he still played that year. And keep in mind the Bulls without Jordan this year won 55 games, and the Rockets with Hakeem won 58. And the Bulls, once again, the defending champions after winning 3 straight titles. And looking at this Houston team for Hakeem, he carried them throughout the 90s, and looking at how he played versus the 91 versus 93 Bulls, they actually had a very impressive 5-1 record versus Jordan's championship Bulls. And I think if Chicago made it to the Finals in 94 with Jordan, I think they would have beaten that Rockets team, given the Rockets not having much depth and being very weak at the guard position. Now, looking to the next year, 95, I think this year Houston actually would have beaten the Bulls, this time in a classic 7-game series. And why I would take Houston in this series is because the Bulls would be so fatigued from 5 straight title runs, and Houston would have added Clyde Drexler, someone who could have at least competed with Jordan on the offensive and defensive end. And the last time I think these two players could have met is in 1997. And this time the Rockets would have a big 3 of Hakeem, Barkley, and Drexler versus the Bulls' big 3 of Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. And that Houston team had the 3rd best record in the West, winning 57 games, and the Bulls had the best record in the NBA, only losing 13 games. And for this specific series, once again I would take Jordan's Bulls over Hakeem's Rockets. As at this point Hakeem, he was getting older, Barkley was definitely older, he was fatter, and Drexler had a lot of wear and tear on his knees. The Bulls were old in their own right, but they weren't as banged up as the Rockets, so I would take them in this series in 5 games, and I think it would have been the least competitive series from the Jordan and Hakeem rivalry. So once again, going back in NBA history, I wish we could have seen a Hakeem versus Jordan finals, as once again it's very disappointing. We didn't get to see the best 2 players of an era play on the biggest stage, that being the NBA Finals. Now, the last 2 what-if finals on this list involve Kevin Durant and LeBron James, and the first series is in 2016. And this year Kevin Durant was on the OKC Thunder, and LeBron, of course, was on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this right here, you could argue, was LeBron's best Cleveland team versus Kevin Durant's best OKC team, as both these teams had a big 3s and the best 2 players of the 2010s. And this might be a hot take, but the 2016 finals, in my opinion, with OKC versus Cleveland, top to bottom, game to game, would have actually been more interesting than the Cavs versus Warriors. As if you recall, that series was mainly blowouts, and Game 7 was really the only entertaining or close game. I think the Thunder and Cavs were much more evenly matched from a talent perspective, and I think having KD versus LeBron James, a head-to-head matchup, actually would have been better than a Curry versus LeBron finals. And in this series, I would have had it going 7 games, with LeBron once again playing big in a Game 7 and winning Cleveland their first championship. Now, for the last greatest matchup we never got to see, I have the Brooklyn Nets with KD versus LeBron's Lakers in 2021. And once again, this matchup was hyped up. It was LA versus New York. It was going to be the greatest finals of all time. You have KD's big 3 versus LeBron's great duo. And me personally, I really wanted to see this finals, but unfortunately injuries did happen, both to Anthony Davis and LeBron James, as well as KD's teammates, that being Kyrie Irving and James Harden. And who knows, in 2022, we may get that exact finals matchup, but I think in 2021, we were robbed of a big-time series from the best players on the biggest stage. And if you ask me who I think would have won this series, I would have gone with Brooklyn in 6 games, beating LA in LA, and Kevin Durant winning his 3rd championship. So that right there is the end of the video. That was our last finals matchup we never got to see. I think in NBA history, there's a lot of great matchups, but I think these 5 really stuck out in my mind as the greatest 5 we all wanted to watch. So as always, thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.